absolutely jumping out of Comerica Park the last two nights. The Tigers and the Blue Jays combined for 7 home runs in last night's ball game. And it's a warm day in the Motor City today. Perhaps we'll see the ball jump out of the ballpark quite a bit here this afternoon as well. We welcome you to downtown Detroit. We're at Comerica Park today for the third in the 4-game series featuring the Toronto Blue Jays and your Detroit Tigers. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pemba, Ron Allen. Glad to have you with us for the third of this 4-game series between these two teams. Tigers still looking for a win, trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. An interesting pitching matchup today, Rod. A couple of Ricks are going. Actually, one's a Ricky. It's Romero and Porcello, but both pretty good rookies.
Well, and they both come from different backgrounds, of course. And when you start talking about Porcello, we know that we drafted him just a couple of years ago out of high school. And when you start talking about Romero, of course, he competed collegiately at Cal State Fullerton. But both guys win. Both guys have real good mound presence. They both have a lot of talent. They get it done in different ways. Of course, you've got Porcello with the fastball and the slider and gets lots of ground balls. And then when you look at Romero, he's already pitched in some very big games. He pitches in the AL East, and he pitches a lot against the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. This should be a very good game today. Both pitchers very young. Both are vying for the Rookie of the Year, and both, as I said, have a lot of talent.
All right, now one of the things that Rick Porcello has to worry about today is Vernon Wells. He came into this series really kind of struggling. Not your typical Vernon Wells, but we've seen the old Vernon Wells in the first 2 games.
Well, from an offensive standpoint, he has really swung the bat well in this series, getting several hits, driving the ball the other way, driving some balls to left center field. You take a look at the last 2 games, 5 for 7, as you mentioned, but you look at his numbers overall, they're down this year. But you have to be encouraged, if you're Cito Gaston, to have watched your star and your slugger perform the way that he has performed the last 2 days here at Comerica Park.
And you also have to be encouraged by the fact that even though the Tigers have lost 5 straight, they still have a 5-game lead in the American League Central Division as we continue to count the games down here in the month of September. Well, the Tigers lineup today features Maglio Ordonez and Marcus Thames. Both of those hitters good against lefties. We'll see how they do today. Tigers and Jays coming up next. This afternoon, the Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays game 3 in this series. As we do every Sunday, the kids take the field with their big leaguers. Their favorite players get an autograph, get a chance to run on the Comerica Park field, and a memory that they will not forget anytime soon for sure. We'll check out the starting lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays. It is brought to you by the Romani Eye Institute, and it features Marco Scudero leading off at shortstop. Aaron Hill will bat second, play second base. Adam Lynn back in the lineup, and he is the DH, followed by Vernon Wells in center field. Lyle Overbays at first base. Edwin Encarnacion is at third. And the bottom three today for the Blue Jays features Travis Snyder, Raul Chavez, and Jose Bautista in right field. Here's the Dodge scouting report on the right-hander Rick Porcello.
And one of the things that Rick has continued to do down the stretch, and that's get a lot stronger. And he took the advice of the pitching coach Rick Knapp and bullpen coach Jeff Jones in throwing more four-seam fastballs. We'll see a few more at 95 miles an hour. They also want him to throw his slider with conviction today. He's been thinking about that pitch a little bit too much lately. And, of course, the Tigers have lost 5. Porcello needs to stop the streak. Take a look at the defenders behind Porcello in the outfield. You've got Rayburn, Granderson, Ordonez. In the infield, it reads Inge, Everett, Polanco, Cabrera. And the battery today is Porcello and Laird. And of course, the Tigers defense is always presented by your Chrysler and Jeep Superstores.
Well, here are the numbers on Rick Porcello as we talk about in the open. Certainly Rookie of the Year candidate. Rick going for his 13th victory of the season today. And he is ready to go to work against Marco Scutaro. Aaron Hill will follow, and then Adam Lind in the first inning for the Toronto Blue Jays. Gorgeous day here this afternoon. First pitch of the ball game is outside. 1 ball and no strikes on Marco Scutaro. 79 degrees here at game time as we will push 80 here this afternoon. We understand in terms of the weather. There's a strike called, and the count goes to 1-1. Scutaro in the series 3 for 8. He's also walked 3 times and has homered. Here's the 1-1. Porcello pounding the strike zone. 1-2 on Scutaro. Rick Porcello appeared against these Blue Jays back in the opening week of the season in Toronto. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 runs against the Jays in his first major league start. The 1-2 is slapped foul back out of play. Porcello has done some pretty good work here at home. In his last 4, his ERA is 2.25, and he has had a better home record than road record. Again, the 1-2. Got him. Strike 3. Scutaro caught looking as he walks back to the bench.
He threw Scutaro all fastballs in that last one right at the knees at 94 miles an hour on the black. That's really an unhittable pitch, and that's one of the reasons why Scutaro just simply tipped his hat and took that stroll back to their dugout. It's going to be important for Porcello to pitch ahead in the count today because this Blue Jays team, they displayed last night that they're a very good fastball hitting team.
Strike 1 on Aaron Hill, who is sporting a 4-game hit streak. And what a series he's had. 5 for 11. He had 4 hits in a ball game in this series. And he has really turned it on. Of course, he had the big home run last night, the 2-run shot. 4 hits in the first game.
This is a different Porcello than the Blue Jays saw in that opening week of the season. At that time, Porcello was throwing a curveball, and he gave up some big hits to some of the Blue Jays hitters on curveballs. He has scrapped that pitch. No longer does he feature it. He throws slider, the 2-seam fastball, and of course the 4-seam fastball to go along with the changeup.
Three and 1 on Hill. Lifts this one in the air. Left center field. Granderson coming over, and there are 2 gone. The Toronto first.
Talking to Jeff Jones before the game, and he said that Porcello had an outstanding bullpen session in between starts. Pitchers will throw in between starts when they're going to get the ball that next 5th day, and he said one of the things that they worked on is the slider. He said that Porcello has not had a lot of confidence in that pitch since he has started throwing it exclusively, but they don't want him to think about it. They said that's been the problem. He thinks about it too much before throwing it because he doesn't want to make a mistake with it, and when you do that, that's when you make mistakes. So let's hope we see some good sliders today from Porcello.
Well, why do you think they went from curve to slider with him?
Well, when you throw a sinker ball, as Porcello throws, and then you try to get on top with a curveball, that's 2 different wrist actions. It's a lot easier to throw sinker and then slider where you have the same arm action. You're not trying to get on top to throw good curveballs, and I think that was part of the reasoning with them abandoning the curveball.
And hence you hear the term sinker slider pitcher a lot.
Yeah, you don't usually hear sinker curveball.
No. 1-2 on Adam Lind here with 2 outs. Porcello in search of the 1-2-3 inning to start this one. And the 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jeff Kellogg is our home plate umpire. He thought about going up with the right hand.
When you see the velocity around 95, 96 from Porcello, that's his straight fastball. That's his 4-seam fastball.
Fouled back out of play.
That pitch right there. That's what he's trying to throw to left-handers a little bit more often. But when you see the velocity anywhere from 89 to 91 miles an hour, that's his moving fastball. That's his 2-seam fastball. That's the one he gets all the ground balls with. Here comes that 2-seam fastball.
So Lind is battling here. As Porcello looks for the 1-2-3 inning, a strikeout and a fly ball to start this game. Lind played in the opener, was 1 for 3.
He can mash. This young man's going to be a good hitter for a long, long time. He can rake.
And a ground ball foul. Well, the Tigers got an eye full of it in that opening series when he had a 6 RBI game. In fact, it was on opening day.
And the thing that impresses Lind's teammates about him is the fact that he's not just a dead pull hitter. He will hit the ball all over the ballpark with power.
Shoots that one to left field with a little bit of power. Rayburn going back, still going, and he leaps to make the catch.
What a play.
Right. Rayburn hits the wall and holds on. Terrific running play out in left field on a ball that just kept going. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Rick Porcello. A little bit of help from Ryan Rayburn. First inning, nice running catch out there in left, and he is getting the congratulations of his teammates. Tigers starting lineup today is presented by Big Boy, and it features, well, guess who? Ryan Rayburn leading off in left field, followed by Placido Polanco at second base. Maglio Ordonez in right, Miguel Cabrera is at first. You've got Thames, the DH. You've got Brandon Inge at third. Bottom 3 is Granderson, Laird, and Adam Everett. The Bernstein advantage brings you the scouting report on Ricky Romero. Get the Bernstein advantage. We go to bat for you.
I'm sure he has fond memories of beating the Tigers in his major league debut in Toronto at the beginning of the year. And Romero has had to bounce back after a couple of starts against the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. He pitched very well in his last outing against Minnesota. And his changeup is a tremendous swing and miss pitch for him.
Well, you make a great play, you lead off the next inning. And here's Ryan Rayburn to start things off for Detroit. Batting .286, 11 home runs, and he's knocked in 37. Rayburn a couple of hits in the series.
The Tigers will be somewhat patient this afternoon against Romero because usually in the scouting reports that they have on him is one that he will throw lots of pitches. So they want to make sure he's throwing strikes today. They will not be real aggressive early in counts.
The one thing in poring over the numbers that we noticed about both of these guys when you're talking about Romero and Porcello is that they both get a lot of double play balls. They're among the best in the American League.
And they get it done with different pitches. Romero's got that great changeup. He also has a really good curveball. And of course, Porcello's signature pitch is that two-seam fastball that he throws at the bottom of the strike zone.
Rayburn got under that one and sends it to left field for out number 1 as Snyder hauls it in.
Let's take a look at the rest of the defense for the Toronto Blue Jays. You've got Snyder in left. You've got Wells in center. Bautista is back out in right for the 3rd consecutive day. Encarnacion, Scudero Hill, Overbay. And that's the same way they lined up in last night's game. And Chavez behind the plate, Romero on the mound. Raul Chavez really likes to throw. He likes to pick to the bases. So we'll watch that when some of these Tigers get on base today.
Maybe that'll be Polanco as he bats here with 1 out. Nobody on. Placido 4 for 10 in this Blue Jays series. Tigers still 5 up coming into play today despite the 2 losses in this series. And I guess they've been catching a little bit of a break because the Twins have struggled and the White Sox have not really caught fire. The 1-0 rolled toward third, foul. Gene Lamont will hand out a souvenir. Congratulations, young lady. Row 1. Temperature just about 80 degrees today here at the ballpark. Home game's winding down. One more homestand after this one is complete.
Where has the year gone?
Not sure. There's a base hit. A little soft serve by Polanco into left center. 1 on, 1 out. Just the fact that we have just one more road trip remaining is really kind of strange.
Years gone by fast.
Here's Maglio.
And Polanco will need to be careful on a secondary lead. He doesn't want to get too far off the base if he's not running. And Chavez loves to pick to the bases and is accurate and has a good arm.
Ball 1 on Ordonez. Maglio a couple of hits in the first game of that series, or this series. The 1-0 pitch outside, 2 balls, no strikes. 24 double plays induced by Romero, and Porcello has induced 22. And Maglio hits into a ton of them, so try and keep the ball off the ground. He's ahead here 2-0. There's a bouncing ball to short. Should be, and it is a double play. So right on cue for both Romero and Ordonez. 6-4-3. We go to the second. To you by Comerica Bank, standing the test of time since 1849. Your Motor City Dodge dealers. On demand from Comcast. Press on demand. Your Comcast remote. Open up a world of choices. And by Arby's Bacon Cheddar Roast Burger Sandwich. Try it today. It'll have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's. We go to the second inning here at Comerica Park. In a scoreless game, Rick Porcello back at the hill facing Vernon Wells, Lyle Overbay, and then Edwin Encarnacion. Hammer to center field where Granderson is backing up. And they retire Vernon Wells, one gone.
Vernon's been hitting a couple of seeds the last couple of days.
Well, those seeds have been available in crystal clear high definition on Fox Sports Detroit HD, sponsored by Comcast.
Nice segue.
I am a professional.
With a capital P.
Here's Overbay. Lyle batting .263. He pretty much took over the cleanup slot in their lineup against right-handed pitching. Although he is batting fifth today, he was batting fourth quite a bit when they traded Scott Rowland. They tried him out in that spot.
They had him batting second at the beginning of the year. I think it was last year. And he just was not comfortable there. Was not comfortable batting second and got off to a miserable start.
Well, when players bounce around in a lineup, do they keep the same approach? I know the leadoff spot is supposed to be a little bit different. You're supposed to try and get on base and maybe work the pitcher a little bit more.
The ones that do keep the same approach, if you're having success, those are the ones that make the adjustment smoothly. But if you try to change your approach, as Overbay did, from moving from a middle of the order guy to a guy that was batting at the top of the batting order, he was simply trying to take more pitches. But once Cito Gaston took over, you don't see this Blue Jays team take many pitches, especially fastballs. Cito Gaston, the manager, is old school, but he has a background of hitting. How do you take that?
Sends the next pitch in the air toward left center. Ryan Rayburn in the gap for the out. Two gone. 4 straight fly ball outs for Porcello. For a guy that is known for getting the opposition to beat the ball into the ground, they're hitting it in the air today.
You have a fly ball hitting team. In the Blue Jays, they've demonstrated that the last couple of days here. They've got a little power. They've hit quite a few home runs here at Comerica Park, and today guys are kind of feeling that way, even though you got a sinker baller on the mound. It's a good slider there by Porcello, especially on the first pitch. Little get me over slider.
Wave and a miss. 0-2 on Encarnacion.
It's almost getting to the point now where you don't want to call him a rookie anymore.
No.
He doesn't even look like a rookie. He never has looked like a rookie.
And he will admit that obviously he does still get a little bit nervous. Jim Leland says at times he gets a little starstruck, but he's handled it nicely. There's your first ground ball, and it goes to Brandon Inge to retire the side. Couple of 1, 2, 3 innings for Porcello. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. And a scoreless ball game as we go to the bottom of the second. And by the way, you can vote for the player of the game today. It might be Rick Porcello. That's up to you. Using your cell phone, text Tigers, followed by a space in the player's uniform number to FSDET or 37338. See the final results postgame during Tigers Live. Here come the Tigers now in the second. They have Miguel Cabrera leading it off against Ricky Romero, the 24-year-old left-hander who hails from Los Angeles, California. Cabrera has hit safely in his last three, has homered in this series. That came last night. A 3-run shot that gave the Tigers a 6-3 lead at that point, but it was a lead that the Blue Jays were able to overcome. They overcame the deficit, actually. But Cabrera, one of the bright spots last night for the Tigers, who hit 3 homers. 2-0 is low, 3 balls and no strikes. Tigers have had a few guys that have done pretty well against lefties since the beginning of August, and a couple of guys that have struggled.
Ryan Rayburn heading that list.
Cabrera takes a walk on 4 pitches.
He gave Cabrera nothing to hit whatsoever.
Well, now he's going to have to deal with Marcus Thames, one of the guys on that list that is hitting left-handed pitching well.
And with Marcus stepping into the batter's box, it's an honor for me to wish his mom, Veterine, a happy birthday today.
Today?
Today.
Excellent.
Marcus told me how old you were too, Veterine, but I'm not going to tell our viewers out there how old you are.
Come on,
how young you are, I should say.
Spill it. Marcus takes a strike 0-1.
But Marcus says she's doing well. Of course, those of you that do not know the story, Veterine has been in a wheelchair for about 27 years from a car accident since Marcus was 5 years old. It's a wonderful story, and she raised a wonderful young man in Marcus.
The 0-1 to Thames. Popped him up. Foul ground, first base side. Overbay for the out, 1 gone.
He said he was going to do something special for her today. He's got some work to do.
It's all right. He's got a few more at bats.
Yeah, he does.
Now, we know he's a man of his word, so stay tuned. Here's Brandon Inge. Brandon batting .231 with 27 home runs.
Brandon had a really nice at-bat in yesterday's game, one of his better at-bats in a while.
Runner goes and a big jump for Cabrera. The throw, 1 hops, not in time. Boy, Cabrera was off and running.
Well, Jim Leland gives the signs to Cabrera. You know, Cabrera's not on his own, and you know that Romero not thinking about Cabrera at all. Therefore, he goes on first movement, and Chavez has no chance at throwing him out.
That's 5 stolen bases now for Miguel.
And Jim has picked some very nice spots for Miguel.
You think opposing pitchers forget about him?
Oh, absolutely. That's the last thing on their mind when Cabrera's standing on first base.
It's fouled away. Cabrera over the last year has worked on his quickness, and he has slimmed down in terms of his weight. There are the numbers on Chavez at 36%.
Oh, he can throw. He's got a good arm, and he loves to throw. But just to finish that thought on Brandon about that at bat he had yesterday, Vernon Wells ran down a ball in right center field, and that's what Brandon needs to do a little bit more of the remainder of the way.
Hit by the pitch, just nipped him on the left arm. Well, it would be nice to see Brandon kind of catch fire here the last couple of weeks. We all know about the knees have been bothering him, and they not only affect him defensively, but at the plate as well.
This much we do know. Brandon told Jim that he did not want any days off the remainder of the way, and since he made that comment, he has not had a day off.
Careful what you ask for sometimes. Brandon's one of those guys that really does love to play, and he just can't stand sitting on the bench. Here's Granderson batting in the 7-hole again today with the lefty on the mound. Ball 1.
Romero is one of those left-handed pitchers that has a great changeup. I've told you about that, but they don't like to throw that changeup to the left-handed batters. Therefore, left-handers are hitting .316 against Romero this year. That is a very high number for a left-hander to yield to left-handed batters, especially a starter.
And Romero has gone first pitch strikes on just 2 of the first 7 that he's faced.
The Tigers knew he would throw quite a few pitches, and on occasion he can be erratic.
Now the 1-1.
Good pitch. Good curveball. He's got a slider as well. He's got a very nice changeup. Actually, this is the changeup.
Yeah.
That acted like a breaking ball.
Didn't act like a changeup at all, did it?
Not at all.
There's the 1-2. Line to left, but it's been sliced. Back out of play.
J.P. Ricciardi, the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, has taken a lot of heat in the previous 3 years for selecting Romero ahead of Tulowitzki of the Colorado Rockies in the 2005 draft. They could have taken Tulowitzki instead of taking Romero. And of course, those of you that follow National League Baseball, Tulowitzki's had a pretty nice start to his career over there. So a little payback this year with Romero, though. He's had a nice season.
And he strikes out Granderson for the 2nd out. His first strikeout of the game. That's going to bring up Gerald Laird.
That's one thing about that draft. There's no direct science. You never know who's going to show up and who's going to do what in the draft. And J.P. Ricciardi just felt like Romero was a better prospect than Tulowitzki at the time.
Well, that draft was one of the more fruitful drafts in a while. He was the 6th rounder, was Romero. And
Sixth pick
of the 1st round. Upton, Gordon, Clement, Zimmerman, and Braun all went before him.
Ooh.
All of them have played in the big leagues. Some have done a little bit better than others, but boy, is that's some serious talent in the first 5 picks.
A lot of those guys played at real good collegiate programs too. Romero, of course, he played at Cal State Fullerton. Braun played at U of M. Upton was a high school kid.
One ball, no strikes on Gerald Laird. And Romero makes him move his feet. Two balls, no strikes. Tigers have 2 men on. We're in the 2nd inning in a scoreless ball game so far.
Well, we told you that Romero has a tremendous amount of confidence in his changeup. Here's a situation where he should probably think about throwing that versus trying to throw a fastball by Gerald 2-0. And when Gerald is looking for a fastball in the strike zone. And it really doesn't have to be a good strike to hit in this situation.
Fouled straight back. They got a fastball and sent it back to the screen. 2-1. Some of the other guys that were actually picked in that draft after Romero. You talk about Tulowitzki. Of course, the Tigers selected Cameron Maben that year, but Andrew McCutcheon's in the big leagues with the Pirates.
That has to be one of the better drafts in a long, long time.
How about Jacoby Ellsbury? He was in that draft too.
Wow.
So you're right. It was loaded. Inside, 3 balls, 1 strike. Laird 2 for 4. That was in the first game. There's Everett waiting on deck. Tigers in search of the big 2-out hit here, and a 3-1 count on Gerald Laird. Line drive, base hit left field. Here comes Cabrera rounding 3rd. He will score. It's an RBI single for Gerald Laird, a clutch 2-out hit.
I thought Romero would throw his changeup there after he had fallen behind 2-0, but he didn't. He stayed with the fastball, and once the count went to 3-1, Gerald knew he was going to get a fastball, and he got that fastball, and it was on the inner third of the plate, and he was still able to get to it and whistle the ball into left field. That would be our Lincoln Mercury Exmo replay.
Gene Lamont waiting Cabrera all the way. So Gerald Laird with a clutch RBI, his 30th run driven in this year, as Everett stands in and takes a ball just off the plate. And batting .240, 2 for 4 in the series as well with a double. And now we'll get a confab on the mound as Romero is throwing quite a few pitches in this inning, his 20th. And 30 for the game. He had a relatively quick first inning because of a double play. Meanwhile, around the Central, Oakland and Minnesota get together at the Metrodome. They're counting down the days for the Dome. And the Tigers come in with a 5-game lead over Chicago, and Minnesota 5.5 back. So while the Tigers have had ample opportunity to gain some ground on their 2 closest pursuers, they really haven't lost a whole lot either. Here's Everett.
The Tigers would love to take as much suspense out of the remainder of the schedule as they possibly could by winning a few more games, because they got to play Minnesota and Chicago a bunch the next couple of weeks.
Here's the 1-1. Line drive to left. That's a base hit. Inge coming to third hard. They're going to stop him though. Snyder quickly gets the ball back in. Brandon is stopped at third base. That'll load the bases.
We've well documented the fact that the Tigers have scored about 40% of their runs this year after 2 are out. He gets a breaking ball that kind of stays up out over the heart of the plate. Real nice concentration here by Everett, not trying to do a whole lot. But Snyder in left field was crowding him shallow in left. Therefore, Brandon could not score.
Rayburn fly to left back in the first inning. 0 for 1. Hammered foul down the right field line. You might recall Romero squared off against Porcello back in April, and that was in Toronto the first time 2 first-round picks debuted against each other. Romero would go on to get the win in that game. So the rematch here today in the month of September. Here's the 0-1. For whatever reason this year, the second inning has been the Tigers' most productive. They've scored 85 runs in the second, including 1 here today. And they have a chance to get a few more with Brandon Inge down at third, Laird occupying second, and Adam Everett has just singled. The 0-2. Got it. Off speed on the outside corner. Struck him out looking. Tigers leave them loaded, but they get a run. We'll go to the third here at Comerica Park. 1-0 Detroit. the innings. Porcello strong down the stretch, though.
He really is, and one of the reasons why he's been able to take that next step, that next gear, so to speak, is they wanted him to throw more four-seam fastballs, and since the second half of the season, he has done that, and his record is very good.
3-1 record in 8 starts in that stretch, and Porcello back to the hill. As we go to the third, it'll be Snyder, Chavez, and Bautista.
One thing they have done with Rick, and they will continue to do the remainder of the way, they watch him very close. He has averaged just over 5 innings a game in all of his starts so far this year, and has thrown 100 pitches just once.
The thing is, common sense would tell you that this is the most innings he has thrown. Obviously, the innings here at the big league level are much more stressful as Snyder rolls out for the first out. Yet instead of tiring down the stretch and maybe flaming out, Porcello is physically getting stronger, it seems.
I think part of that is just his maturation. I mean, here's a kid that knows that he can pitch. He has a lot of confidence in what he's able to do on the mound. And he doesn't stress. Even when he gets behind in counts, when there's runners in the scoring position, he just kind of keeps that same demeanor, which is a nice quality to have for a 20-year-old kid.
Here is Raul Chavez.
You don't see many 20-year-olds pitching in the big leagues, and not all year staying in the rotation.
And a chance to get his 13th win today. Bouncing ball left side. Inge will gobble this one up. Porcello starting to get some ground balls now. 2 gone. It's 3 straight ground outs.
Hey fans, buy a party suite for select games in September and receive a $300 food credit, plus a free suite for another game. For more information, call 313-471-BALL or log on to tigers.com for the free party suite. But you got to purchase one.
Well, 2 away, and here is Jose Bautista. Joe Inglet was supposed to start. He was a late scratch in right field, and Bautista getting the call. 2-0 the count. Bautista started the first game. Was on base 3 times. Was hit once. He walked a couple of times. Blue Jays have won the first 2 games in the series. And the Tigers have beaten the Jays only once this year. There's a check swing. Low. 3-1.
Overall, the Tigers have had trouble with the American League East division.
There's a base hit to center for Bautista. Well, they've got some heavy duty teams in that division. The Tigers really haven't done all that well against the East. Conversely, the Blue Jays have been beaten up on the Central. 10 over 500. That Bautista single was the first Toronto base runner of the day. Here's Marco Scutaro. Scutaro is 0 for 1, a strikeout victim to start the ball game. First and only strikeout so far for Porcello this afternoon. Playing every day is Marco Scutaro these days. In fact, he now has 552 at bats this year, which is a career high.
Cito Gaston has showed a lot of confidence in Scutaro, naming him the shortstop and then keeping him there all year long. And Scutaro has responded with probably his best year.
Well, he's had 156 hits this year. That's a career high. The at-bats a career high. Playing a very good shortstop as well. And I guess we put that under the category that you don't know what you have until you run it out there every day. And Scutaro has responded. Talk about his days in Oakland where he was seemingly backing up just about everybody that was getting hurt in that Oakland infield. Throw back, and just scampering back in there was Bautista. Cloud cover has rolled into the ballpark, which has actually kind of made it nice here. It's kept the sun from beating down on another good crowd here this afternoon. Still a gorgeous day, 79 degrees. Porcello retired the first 8 men he faced in this game before giving up the single to Bautista. And now he's trying to get Scudero with 2 outs. And it just missed. Scudero was almost caught looking again. Pretty close. Maybe close enough to call. And he walked it, ball 4. So a pair of 2-out runners, and here come the Blue Jays now for their best hitter, Aaron Hill. It's the first walk for Porcello.
If you decide to throw Aaron Hill a first pitch fastball here, just make sure you locate it well, because he loves to swing at first pitch fastballs. And usually when he gets it, he does some damage with it. Yeah, but he had an impressive at bat in last night's game against Rodney in the 9th. It was 3-1, and Hill was sitting on the changeup, and he got it from Fernando. And the key is he didn't miss it. Hit a 2-run home run.
That turned out to be the difference as the Blue Jays came back to win that game. Tigers led 6-3 at one point.
Good pitch.
Hill pops it up. Right side of the infield. Polanco to the grass, and that is that. Problem averted. A walk, a single, 2 men left, and we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Still 1-0 Detroit. Bell Tire. At Bell Tire, you get the best tire price, period, and out the door with more. Romero back to the hill as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. The Tigers on top 1-0 here this afternoon. Placido Polanco leads it off and stares at a strike. 0-1. Polanco, then Ordonez, then Cabrera. Tigers took the lead on the single by Laird in the 2nd inning, but Romero struck out Rayburn, and they left the bases loaded. 1 ball, 1 strike on Polanco. Romero, 24 years old, we mentioned, out of Southern California. He hails from Los Angeles and still lives in Los Angeles. He said when he gets into trouble or has gotten into trouble this year, it's basically because he's been overhyped for his starts and he tries to throw too hard and overpower guys with his fastball instead of just going out and pitching. He's behind here, 2-1. 2-2 on Polanco. Polanco had a single and then he raced on a double play back in the first inning. Tigers have 3 hits. Blue Jays have 1 so far in this game. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Outside, 3-2. Romero had a streak of 24 consecutive scoreless innings until it came to a screeching halt on July 6th at New York against the Yankees. It's the longest streak this year in the American League. It's actually tied with Zach Greinke. Anytime these days, at least, you can get your name mentioned with Zach Greinke, you're doing something pretty good.
Greinke pitched the other day, pitched about 7 innings, got a no decision once again. Gave up 1 run.
That's amazing.
The Royals are only scoring better than 3 runs a game for Greinke, which is the lowest run support in the American League.
Here's ball 4. Leadoff walk. The second consecutive inning he has led off the frame with a walk. So Romero now will have to deal with Maglio.
I thought you brought up a great point the last time we saw this matchup, Ordonez against Romero. You talked about all the ground balls that Romero gets in these situations, which gets him lots of double plays, and Maglio hits into lots of double plays. And for that very fact, that we may see Polanco moving and Maglio swinging to stay out of another double play.
Now, we've seen Leland force the issue quite a bit this year. Either trying to start something offensively or staying out of double play. He stayed put that time and he shot it to right field. Base hit. Polanco going to third. Ball is misplayed by Bautista. Maglio to second and he is safe. Just got there. Second and third, nobody out.
Classic Maglio Ordonez swing with the runner on first base. You always try to shoot that hole between first and second to see if you could find that seam, which would allow the base runner to get all the way over to third base. Bautista looked like that ball took a little bit of a tricky hop on him, and he tried to barehand it, mishandled it, but he threw a seed to second base and almost caught Maglio trying to stretch that single into a double.
And that is the ruling, a double for Ordonez. Here's Cabrera with nobody out.
Take one more look at Bautista. Looks like he overruns it, then has to slow it down with his bare hand. Then he gets up and just fires a strike to Scudero.
He's an angry strike after bottling that ball.
He showed some arm strength there for sure.
Even a ground ball here by Cabrera would be productive. Get the run in, move the runner from second to third. They're playing the infield back. Tigers lead 1-0. We're in the third. Cabrera cuts and misses, and now he's behind in the count, 0-2.
If you were managing this team, is that what you want your number 4 hitter to do?
No, I'd want him to hit the ball in the seats.
No, it's a great point, though. I mean, no, it's a legitimate point. I mean, it's a fact.
Well,
in an unselfish way, a ground ball to second base gets you an RBI, and your team gets another runner on third base.
But there are guys, I suppose, and I know that's why you bring the point up here, that are paid to drive in runs, to hit the ball in the gap or out of the ballpark, and this is one of those guys. We'll see how he gets it done. I guess the important thing is to get it done, get that run in from third. And it's a base hit into left field. Polanco will score, and Maglio going to third. RBI single.
It's not a good 0-2 pitch there by Romero, especially against a very dangerous hitter like Cabrera that sits on breaking balls. And you can see Chavez, he wants the ball down. And take a look at him here. Give it to me down, and he hangs the breaking ball, and that ball is a C to left. Clears his hips out nicely, and of course he's got tremendous bat speed.
Another RBI for Cabrera, his 89th. Still nobody out. Thames hits a ground ball toward third. They'll get the out at second. Relay to first. Not in time. RBI for Marcus Thames. Ordonez scores.
Well, really all you want to do is stay out of a double play here, and that's exactly what Marcus is able to do. He gets himself an RBI. It's a nice feed by Encarnacion to Hill, but Marcus, he's got decent speed.
Well, that's an RBI. Is that good enough for Vetterine, or do we need to do a little more?
Well, that's a start.
That's a good start?
That's a good start for her birthday.
His mom, Vetterine, is celebrating a birthday today. Marcus picks up RBI 35. 3-0 Detroit. Here's Brandon Inge.
She watches all our games.
Does she?
She loves some Tigers baseball.
Well, Brandon trying to extend the lead here. He was hit by a pitch back in the second. Tigers have 5 hits. Ball high. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and two.
Look like that change piece that Romero will throw at any point in time. He's got a plus changeup. That means real good. Got a pretty good arm too for a left-hander. 93 with the fastball.
Grounded to third, foul. You mentioned that Inge hit 3 home runs in that first series against the Toronto Blue Jays. One of them was hit off Roy Halladay.
And that was that game the Tigers were losing by quite a bit. And I think he took him the opposite way.
Yeah, he did. If memory serves. He also hit one in the 9th inning to tie up one of those games before the Tigers lost in the bottom of the 9th. He's had a lot of 9th inning home runs this year. There's Roy. Halladay for a while was in that conversation for Cy Young.
Did not think he'd still be wearing a Toronto Blue Jays uniform.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Many thought he would be traded at the trade deadline.
Lofted towards center field, sinking, base hit. Tigers teeing off now. Brandon aboard with a single. And that's 6 Detroit hits.
Different approach there for Brandon, but I like the approach. Brandon, of course, always chokes up once he gets 2 strikes on him, but he still takes a big swing. This time, he doesn't take a big swing. That was just a nice, easy stroke by Brandon, just trying to put the ball in play. And when you try to do things like that, you get rewarded. It's a good swing.
2 on, 1 out. A chance for Granderson. Curtis struck out back in the second. 1 for 10 in the series. Triples are down a little bit this year for Curtis. He still has 6 though, which is good for 6th in the American League. Make it 7 triples rather. Good for 6th. And now he's behind in the count 0-2. $27 home runs this year for Granderson. And the 0-2 from Romero. Down low, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Romero pitched his college ball at Cal State Fullerton. They won the national title there back in 2004 when he was a member of their staff. something he has done a little bit better this inning, even though the Tigers have gotten to him with first pitch strikes on all 6 hitters. And he's ahead of Granderson here, 1-2. This is a 4-game series between these two clubs. They wind it up tomorrow. Before KC comes a calling, Verlander and Percy. Tigers see yet another lefty tomorrow. They want the appeal, but he held. Rick Reed said he did not go. 2-2. Way high over his helmet. And that runs the count to 3 balls and 2 strikes. And I would presume it'd be a little bit risky to start the runners here, wouldn't it?
It would be. Very much so. Granderson usually does not hit into a lot of double plays if it's the ball on the ground. But we'll see what Jim wants to do.
Runners hold. Swing and a miss. Good choice.
Absolutely.
Second time that Granderson has struck out. 3rd in the game now for Romero.
Usually left-handers will not throw the changeup to left-handed batters, but apparently Romero feeling a little bit more comfortable throwing his to Granderson. Granderson anyway, the only left-hander in the lineup.
Here's Laird. He's singled in a run for the Tigers back in the 2nd. Detroit has scored 2 more here in the 3rd. Gerald takes a strike. His 3rd hit in this series as he tries to pick up the pace offensively down the stretch. Got 30 RBIs now. Leland reiterated yesterday again before the game that yes, they would like to have a little bit more offensively from Laird. But what he has done defensively for this club has been remarkable as Casey Jansen warms up.
It's been a game changer.
Ground ball back up the middle. It'll get through. Base hit. Here comes Thames rounding 3rd. They're going to score it. 2 for 2 for Gerald Laird with a couple of RBIs. And it's 4-0. Production out of the 8th spot today for Jim Leland.
Pretty good approach today by G Money. Looks like a changeup that's out and away from him, but the ball's up. And because the ball is up, it allows Laird to get to it and hits it right past Scutaro. And with 2 outs, Mark is getting a really good secondary lead, and there's no play on him at home plate.
31 RBIs for Laird. Here's Adam Everett. He singled his first time up. Tigers now have 7 hits, and we're only in the 3rd. Only 1 for the Blue Jays. That was the 30th pitch in this inning, and he had a long inning in the 2nd. 25.
That was the scouting report the Tigers had on Romero coming in. Even though he's had a very nice year, he's won 12 games. He's in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, but he does throw a lot of pitches. And they've had some nice approaches against him today.
Ground ball to 3rd. Encarnacion gobbles it up. And that is that. Another big inning for the Tigers, though. They get 3 runs. Gerald Laird drives in another 2-out run. 4-0. for wins in a single season? Good question. Rookie record for wins in a single season for the Toronto Blue Jays.
That is a good question today.
A couple of guys come to mind, but they're too obvious, so it's probably wrong. Here's Adam Lind leading it off. Lind fly to left back in the first. Waves and misses. No balls, 2 strikes. Now, what do you think about Porcello today? He's looked pretty good.
He's got that good firm fastball, anywhere from 90 to 95 miles an hour. He's throwing lots of strikes, keeping guys off balance. Pretty much looks as he had most of the second half of the year.
Yeah, kind of as expected, I suppose.
I talked to Porcello way back in Oakland, and he said he'd already thrown more this year than he'd thrown in his life. But he continues to get stronger. And that was about a month ago.
Ball inside, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's a good pitch to Lind. Even though he will hit the ball all around the ballpark, you've got to come aggressively inside to left-handers that can do the kind of damage that Lind has done this year. He is knocking on the door of 100 RBIs.
Hill, their number 2 hitter, has 96. Lind, their number 3 hitter, has 97.
And Scudero has been setting a nice table for those guys all year.
Now, the Blue Jays this year offensively have been no slouch. They're 3rd in the American League in hits. And they're also 5th in home runs. They put on a home run show last night. Both teams did, actually. A total of 7. 4 for the Jays, 3 for the Tigers. That's pulled right at the first baseman.
That's why he can hit. That young man can rake.
First at bat, he drove under the wall and left. This time he pulled it.
Pulled his hands in nicely here and hit a missile to Cabrera. That ball was about 6 inches off the plate inside, and somehow he was able to get barrel on it and keep it fair.
Here's Vernon Wells. Everything coming off his bat these days seems to be coming off real hard, real fast. Wells with a 6-game hit streak, 5 for 8 in this series. Porcello missed away, 1-1.
Vernon likes the ball inside. He likes to pull the baseball, and he's very aggressive on fastballs. Every now and then you can get him out with a breaking ball.
Vernon has hit 304 separate times in his career. That's pulled foul.
Let's take a look at what Vernon did on Friday. He got 1 hit up the middle, and he also hit the ball the opposite way. When you do that, now all of a sudden the opposition thinks you're looking to go away, and they start giving you a little something to do some damage with inside, as they did in last night's game. And he hit a ball in left center field, and then he played long ball later on in the game off Edwin Jackson on a fastball where he was ahead in the count.
That's the same guy the Jays fans were booing? Apparently not. He's not going to get to 300 this year. He's at 258, but he's coming on. Porcello's going to have to hurry. Not going to get it. Couldn't locate it quick enough.
Things are going well these days for Vernon.
And that's an indication right there. Infield hit.
And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, really. Vernon's a real good guy. That ball should have been fielded by Porcello. When you deliver the ball toward home plate as a pitcher, you become another defender in the infield. So you have to get yourself in position to field your position. Porcello was not. And it cost him a base hit.
1 on 1 out. Here's Lyle Overbay. Overbay is 0 for his last 12. Ball 1.
This is where Porcello is good and has been good. Runner on first. They can't get good jumps against him, and he usually throws a ground ball in this situation.
Hence the 22 double plays that he has induced.
Back-to-back changeups to Overbay.
There's a strike, 2-1. Vernon this year with 16 steals down at first base. Tigers lead here though 4-0. And a strike called right at the knees. 2-2. Just off the plate, run it full now, 3-2 on Lyle Overbay. Encarnacion waiting on deck.
This could get interesting. If Porcello gets a swing and miss here, 3-2 with Vernon Wells probably on the move. We know what Laird has done all year.
There goes the runner.
That's why if you're Wells, you better get a pretty good jump. This can't be one of those jumps where you're simply trying to stay out of a double play. Not with the success that Gerald Laird has had this year throwing out base stealers.
You almost have to approach it as you want to steal that base.
You have to.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Runner goes again, swing and a miss. Here comes a throw from Laird. It's high into center field. Oh, they had him dead to rights too, but Gerald just uncorked that one. And everybody all right down there?
G Money had too much time. I don't think we have seen Gerald Laird throw a ball this high down to second base all year long. He had plenty of time. And sometimes when you have that much time, you airmail the throw.
Well, that was on a tee right there for Gerald. I mean, it was almost pitch and catch for him, but he just uncorked it. Everett went flying through the air, and there's a drive down the left field line. That's going to get a run in all the way to the wall. Encarnacion will go to second base, and it's 4-1. Blue Jays are on the board.
Encarnacion is a good fastball hitter, and the Tigers know as much, and therefore they've thrown him some breaking balls in this series. That time, he left it up. And Encarnacion got a pretty good swing at a ball that was on the corner outside.
So now big for Porcello here to get Snyder and keep the damage to a minimum. Encarnacion has just picked up his 8th RBI in a Jays uniform. Snyder is 0 for 1 with a ground ball. One ball, 1 strike. That's in the air. To shallow right, the second baseman to the grass. Polanco hauls it in to retire the side. So they will settle for the 1. We go to the bottom of the 4th. It's 4-1. More time. Who holds the Blue Jays rookie record for wins in a single season?
Dave Steve.
Well, that would be an obvious answer. See, I told you. It was somebody who was kind of obscure. Mark Eichhorn. 14 wins back in '86.
How about Shashin?
Gustavo
Shashin.
You still have that?
No, that's you that have those fancy shoes.
No, not the shoes.
Those Italian shoes you wear.
I'm talking about the cologne. Remember that? That they handed out a couple of years ago there?
I remember that.
The Chassis.
He was big.
Then.
Where'd he go?
I don't know. That's the $64 million question. All right, 1 ball, 1 strike on Ryan Rayburn. 4-1 Tigers lead. We're in the bottom of the 4th. Rayburn in the leadoff slot for the Tigers, followed by Polanco and Ordonez.
This much we do know: the Tigers need to continue to score runs because the Blue Jays have a good offensive team, and they demonstrated in yesterday's game that they do have comeback ability. They just inched their way to a victory in that game yesterday. Tigers were leading that game 6-3, I believe, in the 5th inning.
Chipped away.
Well, they scored 1 run every inning after that.
5, 6, 7, and 8 in those innings. They got a run, and Rayburn cuts and misses. Did he catch it? He did. He's out. They tag him to make it official. Rayburn fans for the 2nd time in the game. He's 0 for 3.
Rayburn thought the ball hit the ground. Another one of those changeups, breaking ball, something off speed. But boy, you could really see the depth on that pitch from that angle. How about that?
Did that hit the ground? Look at this again. Exmo never lied.
Yeah, it did.
Ball hit the ground.
I wonder why Jeff Kellogg wouldn't get help there, especially after Leland went out to ask him that.
Good question. Oh, Polanco drills one off his foot. I guess the only other situation there is that they said that Rayburn didn't actually hit the ball.
True.
But it sounded like he did. 1 strike on Placido Polanco. And now Romero has thrown 12 straight first pitch strikes. He has struck out 4. Polanco's been on base twice, walk, and a single.
You would think a guy throwing that many first pitch strikes would have had a better 3rd inning. But he walked 1 and gave up 4 hits in that inning. So he must not have that good out pitch today.
Must be the quality of strikes that he's throwing. So 1-1. And that's going to be pulled. 1-2 on Polanco. Placido has hit safely in 4 straight now. So is Cabrera. They each have a hit today. In the air to shallow center. Vernon Wells calling for it. 2 gone. The right fielder, so here comes Ordonez with 2 away. Double play ball and a double for Maglio in this game. He was part of that big 3-run 3rd. Back up the middle. Another hit for Maglio. He's going to get to 300 before we know it. 2 more hits today. Tigers have 8 hits. Means Maglio now is 53 hits shy of 2,000 for his career. And after a slow start this year, post All-Star break, power numbers are not there, but his batting average certainly has skyrocketed. Cabrera lining one foul the other way, 0-1. The 0-1 is off speed, missing outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tigers trying to snap a 5-game losing streak, and their record has fallen to 75-66, 9 games over. One and two. Blue Jays officially have been eliminated. They have the dreaded X next to their name in the standings. So does Baltimore out in the East. The X signifies that your team is no longer in contention. In fact, those are the only 2 teams in the American League that officially have been eliminated. One and two on Miguel Cabrera. A walk, a steal, a single, 2 runs scored. And he's knocked one in. Chops it slowly toward third. Encarnacion can't scoop it. It's under his glove. And the Tigers have something going now with 2 outs.
It's going to be a do or die play, but you have to keep your glove down. You can see at the last moment there, Encarnacion swipes at the ball and whiffs.
Base hit. Second hit today for Cabrera. Now Marcus Thames. Drives it in the air to shallow center field. Vernon Wells throws up his right hand and hauls it in. Side retired. Tigers get a couple of 2-out hits. We'll go to the 5th. Series as we travel to the 5th inning of this one. Mario and Pemba, Rod Allen back at the ballpark, and so far so good for Rick Porcello. He's given up the 1 run, but this is the Rick Porcello that I guess we've gotten accustomed to seeing about the last month or so.
Well, he's got nice mound presence, that much is for sure, and the Blue Jays are a very good fastball hitting team. Therefore, Porcello has gone to a lot of his secondary pitches, and he's been able to keep them off balance.
Meanwhile, and you touched on this Toronto team, they have the ability to chip away, so this game's far from over.
Oh, it is, and Porcello's going to have to continue to attack the strike zone, and he and Laird are going to continue to have to make adjustments along the way because Gene Tennis, their hitting coach, along with C.O. Gaston, their manager, they are very good at kind of leading their hitters along the way at knowing what opposing pitchers are trying to do. They are both very good hitting coaches, although Cito's the manager.
Raul Chavez leads it off. He'll be followed by Jose Bautista and then Marcos Scutaro. 2-1 on Chavez, who has been in the big leagues for parts of 11 seasons with several different organizations, Pittsburgh and Houston over in the National League, Montreal as well.
Cito Gasson actually got his start in professional baseball as a minor league batting coach with the Atlanta Braves back in the early 80s. Said Hank Aaron talked him into getting back into baseball after he retired as a player. Said the first couple of times Hank Aaron asked him to do so, he told him no.
Really?
And he said on the third time, Hank told him, I'm not going to ask you again. At that time, Hank Aaron was running the Atlanta Braves farm system.
Ooh, down he goes.
So Cito got into baseball in '81, and then Bobby Cox took him to Toronto that following season as their batting coach.
So he wasn't asking anymore, he was telling?
You mean Hank Aaron?
Hank Aaron.
Yeah, he told him, he said, the last time I'm going to ask you. And Cito said, you know what, I better get in. And he's been in baseball since then.
Cito had some pretty good years as a player.
Yeah.
29 homers one year with San Diego.
He just has a really nice, calm presence about him. You know who's in charge now, that's for sure.
Here's Jose Bautista. In some ways, he reminds me, and this is how they go about their business, of Mike Scioscia. I mean, they're kind of stoic, but they have that presence. They don't get very excited very often, or overly excited.
And when things get out of hand on the field, you don't see him getting up and walking around and, you know, muttering and different things like that. You just kind of sit there and real calm, and the players appreciate that. Because trust me, the players can see that.
0-2 on Bautista.
He may not move from there all day long.
Arms folded. Just watching the action. The 0-2 is going to bounce in, and Laird is able to cycle it.
What a block.
Yeah, that ball hit way in front of the plate.
And about 4 feet off the plate. And to somehow get over in front of that thing and smother it and keep it in front of you so that the runner does not advance. I mean, that's just textbook. It's just textbook for you catchers at home.
That one's going to get away, though. He tried to backhand it, move the runner to second base.
That's that slider. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, how it's the one pitch that Porcello has felt that he just really hasn't had a good feel for lately. Therefore, he thinks about it too much when he throws it. And when he does throw it, every now and then, this is a result. He just overthrew that pitch, a result of kind of thinking too much.
So again, the Blue Jays trying to chip away. They get a man in scoring position with nobody out. The 2-2 pitch. 3-2. Scudero, the leadoff man, waiting on deck. And the 3-2 fouled away. Porcello has limited the Blue Jays to only 3 hits this afternoon, and 2 of them came in the 4th. One, in fact, was an infield single by Vernon Wells. Chavez at second with nobody out. 3-2 pitch. Popped up. See if it stays in play, going toward the seats, and Cabrera runs out of room. 4 or 5 rows back. Ground ball to third. Hinge knocks it down. Has time. Got him. And the runner holds.
Hinge does a nice job of getting over in front of this ball, but he does not field it cleanly, but he didn't panic. Even with Bautista running down the line with a little bit of speed, he takes his time, he plants that right foot and gets somewhat of a firm throw off across the diamond, and he gets him about a step.
So we're having that cannon comes in handy.
You know, Brandon probably could have gotten over and backhanded that ball, and it would have been an easier play for him, but he didn't want to run the risk of that ball jumping over the glove, so he got in front of it and smothered it and kept it in the infield.
Marco Scutaro.
A lot of these Blue Jays hitters look for the fastball inside. They all like to cheat with that front foot. Watch the front foot of Scutaro after he decides to take that first initial step toward the field of play. Kind of steps down toward third base. And most guys, when you see them doing that, they're looking for the fastball in. Bautista was doing the same thing. Watch the front foot. You see a cheat there a little bit.
So by cheating, is that you mean they're opening up their hips?
Well, you cheat with the front foot, and in turn that helps you get your hips through the ball when you're looking for a pitch inside. Something that Maglio has done since about August 1st, and his numbers have really gone up from a batting average standpoint.
One and two on Marco Scutaro. Ooh, close. 2-2. Porcello could have used that one. Got to deal with Hill, who's waiting on deck. Scutaro, a walk, a strikeout. Little looper into left. That's going to drop. Base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third base. Chavez, with very little speed, if any at all, is held. And so now runners at first and third with one out. And that's going to bring up Aaron Hill. So what's going on at the Metrodome? It's 3-0 Minnesota. They lead the Athletics, top of the second. Comes Rick Knapp, Tigers pitching coach, coming out to have a talk with Porcello, who has thrown 87 pitches right now.
Hey fans, the race for the pennant is on. Place a deposit on 2010 season tickets and receive the opportunity to purchase tickets for all 2009 playoff games. For more information, call 313-471-BALL or visit Tigers.com. Postseason priority. Pennant fever is here.
October not too far away. Tigers trying to get there. So now here is Hill with runners at first and third. Hill is 0 for 2. Fly ball and a pop-up. Ground ball to third. Fair ball deep behind the bag. Throw to second one. Relay. Not in time and thrown away. It'll stay in play, though, to keep Hill at first base, but another run in. Inge. I can't believe he made that throw to second on target.
Inge gets over, he makes his play, and while throwing the ball to second base, his foot slips from underneath him, but he still gives Polanco a firm throw, and Polanco trying to turn it over, which they probably weren't going to do. Gets kind of lucky there. That ball did not bounce into the camera well or into the dugout of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Otherwise, Hill would be standing at second base right now. Instead, it's Lind with 2 outs and a man at first. And he hits one toward the shortstop on the backhand. Everett planting. Got him. So they settle for one, get a little bit closer, though, as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. It's the Tigers 4, Toronto 2. two-out hit by Gerald Laird. An RBI single scoring Miguel Cabrera made it 1-0. Now the Tigers had a 3-run third.
That all started with a bases leadoff walk by Romero to Polanco, who comes home first in that inning, and they went on to score a couple of more to give them a 4-1 lead at the time. It is now 4-2.
And for the second time, Laird coming through with a two-out hit. Laird, Thames, and Cabrera getting the RBIs in that third. But their lead has been chopped now to 4-2 as Brandon Inge leads it off against Romero in the bottom of the fifth.
Leadoff base on balls have led to those two Tigers innings where they scored runs.
And the leadoff walk to Chavez in the fifth inning led to a Toronto run. 1 ball, 1 strike on Brandon Inge. Curtis Granderson to follow, and then Gerald Laird. Swing and a miss. Well, Romero used up a lot of his pitches in the second and the third. And the lefty from Los Angeles steals home the 1-2, and it's grounded to the first baseman. Overbay is there, 1 gone.
When you really dive into Romero's numbers and you look at the opposing teams that he's had to face, he has had to face the New York Yankees 4 times. He has seen the Boston Red Sox 3 times. Excuse me, that's flipped. 4 times against Boston, 3 times against the Yankees. He's faced the Philadelphia Phillies a couple of times, which has an outstanding offensive team. So in that division they play in, of course, he has to face some good offenses.
Granderson drops out a bunt, gets it by Romero, and Hill throws it out. Granderson did just about everything perfectly there, and it looked like he had himself a base hit.
And Hill made a tremendous play. Like to see Curtis do more of this against left-handers. It would help him gain some confidence. He stays in the batter's box. He places it perfectly, but Hill, anticipating the play, he comes in, grabs it, and throws and leaves his feet. What a play. It does not get any better than this. Sweet.
Lost the sunglasses.
What a play.
2 gone. There's Gerald Laird. Big day for Gerald. 2 hits, 2 RBIs. Ball 1. Getting back to that point you were making about Romero, I think you have to take that into consideration when you're talking about Rookie of the Year. And maybe Romero's numbers are probably going to be, I don't know, 3rd or 4th in the pecking order of the young guys, but still, that's some stiff competition.
And those teams have beat up on him pretty good. And Boston has put up lots of crooked numbers against him. Of course, the Yankees have an outstanding team, and Philadelphia, one of your better teams in the other league.
2-0 on Gerald.
Gerald has been getting himself in good hitters counts all afternoon, and when you do that, you can get yourself a couple of knocks.
There's ball 4 on base for the 3rd time today. It's a 3rd walk as well for Romero. Well, feel free to join us again tomorrow for the final game in this series against the Blue Jays. Coverage begins at 6:30 with Tigers Live. Tigers baseball presented by Bell Tire tomorrow evening on Fox Sports Detroit and Fox Sports Detroit HD. And Justin Verlander toeing the slab tomorrow against David Percy, who comes in with a 7 ERA. Everett rolls it foul. And then Kansas City will be in as the Tigers continue along on this homestand. High fly ball, shallow right field. Bautista to retire the side. Tigers get a 2-out walk, leave a man. We go to the 6th. Wells, Overbay, Encarnacion coming up. Detroit is brought to you by your Chrysler and Jeep Superstores. And by Wallside Windows. We can do that. We are the factory. Back here at the ballpark, we go to the 6th inning. Tigers lead it by 2. 4-2 is our score. Vernon Wells leads it off, then Lyle Overbay and Edwin Encarnacion. Tigers have out-hit the Blue Jays today 9-4, but lead by just a pair as Porcello goes back to work. Wells has an infield hit, a steal, and a run scored today. Hammered to center field, but straight at Curtis Granderson, and one gone.
.96 miles an hour. And Porcello's dialed up to today. 81 is a low with a changeup. Those always courtesy of Comcast.
Here's Overbay. Overbay a strikeout and a flyout. One ball, one strike. I mentioned the 4 hits today for the Jays. Bautista's single, double for Encarnacion. Wells has a base hit and a single for Scudero. They've been scattered, but Jays not going away. They picked up a run in the 4th and one in the 5th. The 2-1 is outside. 3 balls, 1 strike on Lyle Overbay. Tigers bullpen is working. Foutainé and Zach Miner heating up. Driven to right field and caught. Maglio runs it down. Two gone. That ball was hit hard. Overbay's in one of those stretches where he can't buy one now. He's 0 for 14. Here's Encarnacion. Porcello has reached 100 pitches only once this year, and that was number 98. 104 pitches 3 starts ago against Tampa. Ball high, and the count goes to 2-0. So Rick is about to reach 100 once again for just the 2nd time this year. The 2-0 pitch. 3 balls, no strikes. 57 strikes, 43 balls. 58 strikes. 3-1. Encarnacion doubled in a run in the 4th. And he pulls that one foul. 3-2. Ground ball left side, deep in the hole. Everett got to get rid of it in a hurry. He does. Nice pick at first base by Cabrera. A 1-2-3 inning for Rick Porcello with a little bit of help from Adam Everett.
Going to take you back to Curtis Granderson's last at bat, running for a base hit and a perfect bunt, but Aaron Hill, the second baseman, comes in and makes a tremendous play. Coors Light Freeze Cam, always brought to you by your Frost Brew Coors Light.
One of the better plays you will see, Aaron Hill leaving his feet and getting Curtis Granderson. Meanwhile, Porcello threw up a 0 up there in the top of the 6th, and Romero back to work in the bottom. Here's a bunt by Rayburn that goes foul.
It's a good idea. Encarnacion down at third base is about 5 steps behind that bag. And all Rayburn had to do was get it somewhere down toward third base, and he could have walked to first. It's a really good idea.
Top 3 in the Tigers lineup: Rayburn, Polanco, and Ordonez. In a 4-2 game, Tigers lead in the 6th. Porcello came in with 12 victories. Here's the 1-1. Fouled straight back. 1-2. Rick is probably done for the day. Over 100 pitches. He's going to turn things over to the bullpen. Hope they can put this one in the victory column. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Right back to the mound, and a line, and Romero sticks his glove out. One gone.
Threw Rayburn a changeup. Rayburn stayed back about as long as he could stay back on this delivery, and he hits a missile right back at Romero. And actually, that was a curveball that he started off the plate outside. He tried to sneak it on that corner, but Rayburn stayed with it all the way.
Polanco's been on base twice today, single and a walk. 1 for 2. He also scored a run. Flat out to center field at his last at bat. And he waves and misses. 0-2. Tigers, despite their 2 losses in the first 2 games in this series, still 45-24 at home. Third most victories at home in the American League, behind New York and Boston. 2 really difficult places for opposing teams to go and come away with victories. Those are 2 of the top home totals in all of baseball, as a matter of fact. Would you say it's tougher to win in New York or Boston?
Right now, these days, I'm going to say Boston.
Yeah, I'd agree. The 0-2. High, 1-2. Although the Yankees right now seem to have the best team in that division, but there's something about going into Fenway. Fans are right on top of you. Here's the 1-2. Hit the other way on the ground. Hill gobbles it up. 2 outs.
Hey fans, visit the official online shop of the Detroit Tigers at Tigers.com. Browse the largest selection of authentic Tigers gear. You can get everything there: caps, t-shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts, and a whole lot more. Go to the Tigers.com shop.
Here's Ordonez with 2 outs. Here's the 1-0. Maglio shoots one again to right center. It's going to drop. 3rd hit of the day for Maglio Ordonez.
He'll be hitting 300 before you know it.
He was at 294 going into that at bat. Isn't that amazing? Where he was to get to 300. It's been quite a second half.
He kept his bat in the strike zone a long time. That's the key to hitting some of those off-speed pitches for a right-handed batter that are off the plate. You got to keep the barrel of the bat over the heart of the plate as long as you possibly can, and Maglio does that very well.
It's been a nice day for Miguel Cabrera as well. 2 singles, 2 runs scored, and a walk.
He can throw Cabrera inside aggressively with a fastball, but Cabrera quietly still sitting on something off speed, whether it be the changeup or that curveball. Because ultimately he knows that's the pitch that Romero is going to try to get him out with.
Driven to right center. Too much room out there. Bautista hauls it in. Tigers are done in the 6th, and we will make our way to the 7th. Tigers make their way to the bullpen.
And one of the things that impresses you about him is he has the uncanny ability to keep this very good Blue Jays team off balance with a mixture of fastballs, breaking balls, and changeups, and he kept all of it out of the center of the plate. Everything fading away from the left-handers or the good firm four-seam fastballs against the right-handers. That is our bell tire pitch by pitch at Porcello's afternoon. A couple of earned runs, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts, and scattered 4 hits.
Well, if Porcello is to get his 13th win of the year, he'll have to depend on the bullpen now as Zach Miner comes on to throw here in the 7th.
Well, Jim has said on many occasions he cannot go to C and Knee and Lyon and Rodney too early on any given day, so it's important for Miner to bridge the gap to those guys here to the afternoon with a good 7th inning.
And the first man to face him, Travis Snyder. Snyder, then Chavez and Bautista. One ball, one strike on Snyder. One and two. Bullpen's been struggling so much recently that obviously they want to get things turned around here. And this would be a nice opportunity for Jim Leyland to get his pen back in order.
Well, they were so good for a couple of months. You knew there'd be a little hiccup at some point in time. I guess it's not the ideal time to have a hiccup in your bullpen, but you'd rather have it now than a few days from now when they go into Minnesota. But they got to get it back together. The last 5 games have not been good for the bullpen.
Well, I think you said it. I mean, when you expect these guys to do it every day, and we've seen them do it every day, it almost becomes second nature. But Hard to go through an entire season with that in effect. And Snyder is going to be out via the strikeout. Minor gets the first man he faces.
Real good curveball there by Minor. And to a good fastball hitter. Threw Snyder a couple of changeups and he finished them off with a breaking ball. Just some real nice depth to that pitch. And of course, and Laird, anticipating it would be in the dirt, gets over it, smothers it, and throws down the first to get the out.
Here's Raul Chavez. Well, Chavez showing bunt. Breaking ball is in for a strike, and it's 0-2. Tigers today with 10 hits, and the Blue Jays offense has been limited to just 4. Now it's 2-2 on Chavez. Porcello gave up runs in the 4th and 5th. That's it. Now it's up to the pen. Chavez walked leading off the 5th and eventually scored a run. Right back up the middle. He's going to hit the bag and get through. 1 out single. Chavez is on. That's going to bring the tying run to the plate. It'll be Bautista. Meanwhile, the Twins still lead the Athletics 3-0. That game is in the bottom of the 3rd. And for this Minnesota team, they're desperate for a win as well. They've been terrible in their last 10.
Justin Morneau is struggling in the month of September. His batting average is about under 100 for the month of September. That's a lengthy time for a guy that's as talented as Morneau. So with Morneau struggling, you know, teams are taking the luxury of pitching around Mauer. And therefore you get that 3-7 record.
Bautista with a 1-0 count. See if Zach can get himself a ground ball here, get out of this inning. Porcello retired the last 5 in a row that he faced before giving way to the right-hander Minor.
That's a pretty good swing right there by Bautista.
Ground ball left side. Inge fires to second. There's one. There's a double play. 5-4-3. Tigers turned a big one here in the 7th. We go to the stretch up by 2. game summary. Maglio Ordonez has had a big game. He's 3 for 4 with a double and a run scored. And Miguel Cabrera, nice game as well, 2 for 3 with an RBI. Rick Porcello, though, part of the big story here today. He has gone 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and a couple of strikeouts for Porcello before departing this game. And in terms of Rookie of the Year candidates, here are the folks we deem as some of your leaders. These are the numbers coming into play today.
All 3 of the starters on that list, Romero, Porcello, and Neiman, all have 12 wins. Neiman has a couple of complete games. That kid Andrew Bailey, 24 saves, tons of strikeouts, a 2.03 earned run average. I don't know, who do you think?
You know, I want to say Bailey because he's been really dominant out of their bullpen, but I just love what Neiman has done. And the fact that he's a starter. I don't know that you should penalize Bailey because he comes out of the bullpen, but I think I'd lean toward Neiman right now. That's just me. What about you?
I would probably lean toward Bailey right now, yeah. It's pretty special to do what he's done as a rookie out of a bullpen to get that many saves on a team that doesn't win many games either.
I guess the other thing, too, with Neiman is something we were talking about. He pitches in the East
as well.
So, I mean, that's...
He and both Romero.
Casey Jansen, by the way, has come into this ball game. So Romero is out. And the Tigers trying to add to their lead now. It's a 2-run game. Marcus Thames, Brandon Inge, and Curtis Granderson. Big crowd here today. 32,468. That's her attendance this afternoon. Marcus pulls one fair inside the bag at third. This looks like extra bases, and it's touched by a fan. It's a ground rule double for Marcus Thames. Double to go with his RBI today. It's becoming a better present for Vettery.
It sure is. It's her birthday today. And Marcus gets himself first pitch swinging. A breaking ball that stays up, and Encarnacion could not do anything with that ball. Could not knock it down. Marcus lifted as a pinch hitter. Lifted for a pinch runner, I should say.
That would be Wilkin Ramirez.
We do know that Ramirez will steal third base if they give him too much room, which apparently they are giving to him. They don't know him that well. Hill, the second baseman, is giving him way too much room. It was a couple of days ago over in Kansas City where Wilkin Ramirez was on second base with nobody out, I believe, and he was running on a pitch. Attempting to steal third base. It was a base hit. He ended up scoring, but the fact of the matter is he's got good speed.
Ground ball hit to the right side. Inge advancing the runner. That was nice.
He's had a couple of good at-bats in this game. Runner on second base, nobody out. Give yourself up. Get that runner over to third. You can clearly see that's what Brandon was trying to do. That ball was literally by him when he made contact with it.
So the infield coming in for the Blue Jays, up to Granderson now. He's going to be walked with Laird on deck. That'll put runners at first and third. The intentional walk to Curtis Granderson.
Kind of sets up an interesting scenario. Laird has had a pretty good day. He has singled a couple of times and driven in a couple of runs, and he walked. So which means he's seeing the baseball and pretty good here the last couple of days against Blue Jay pitching.
There's ball 4 to Curtis.
Something else that Jim has taken the luxury of doing this year with Laird, whether it be him running at third or whether it be him standing in the batter's box. He has not been afraid to put on the squeeze play with Gerald.
Laird 2 for 2 today with runners in scoring position. A pair of 2-out hits, one in the second, one in the third. He walked in the fifth. Tigers have not scored since getting 3 runs in the third inning.
And Curtis could also steal second base. We have pointed out the fact that Chavez, their catcher, today's got a pretty good arm, but Granderson's got 20+ steals this year. That's what makes the game of baseball so fascinating. So many different scenarios, so many different things that you can do. But at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters in this situation is getting Wilkin Ramirez to touch home plate.
Execution.
Some kind of way. Touch home plate.
Almost hit him. 2-0. Well, Laird and Everett combined have had 3 hits, 2 RBIs, and a walk out of the 8 and 9 positions in the lineup. They're trying to do more damage here in the 7th to give the Tigers some breathing room. Detroit is out hit Toronto today 11-5.
It sure helps when you can get yourself in some hitter friendly counts. And Laird has been in hitter friendly counts all afternoon. And that's why he's had a good day. He's been ahead in the count every time he's gone to the plate this afternoon.
Two and one. Curtis with 20 steals in 26 tries. More action in their bullpen. Josh Renicky. The 2-1 is toward the shortstop on one hop. They're going to come home with it. And out at home plate is Ramirez. Laird aboard in the fielder's choice.
This is a strange developing play here. Very strange. First and foremost, Ramirez did not know whether Scudero was going to catch the ball or not. And then once the ball falls, then he quickly realizes that Scudero's thinking about getting a double play. Therefore, he runs and gives himself up. And I'm not sure whether they would have been able to get the double play or not, but that's exactly what was going through Ramirez's mind right there. He wasn't sure whether it was going to be caught. And then when it bounced, he thought Scudero was going to try to go 6-4-3 double play. Therefore, he gives himself out, and the Tigers still have a chance to score.
Well, here is Adam Everett now with 2 away.
Now, the million-dollar question is, if Ramirez doesn't run, do you think they still could have gotten a double play there?
Well, and that's what I'm trying to think about right now. I know that Granderson would have been an easy out at second because he waited as well on the soft line drive. But I think Everett probably beats it out.
You mean Laird?
I'm sorry, Laird. Probably beats it out.
That was the way that whole play developed, and that's how that play developed.
There's a strike called on Everett. 1 ball, 1 strike. It was strange looking, though.
Usually when there's runners on first and third, they will tell you ball on the ground, then you run, because you'd much rather them throw you out at home plate versus giving up the 2 outs there, because you still have a chance at Everett driving in Granderson.
1 ball, 1 strike on Adam Everett. Let's see if he has a 2-out hit in him. Right back to the mound, knocked down by by Jansen. And he'll get the out. So the Tigers had a threat going, but they're unable to score. And we'll go to the 8th. It is still 4-2 Detroit.
Lead here is because they pitched well and they've defended well. That was back in the first inning when Rayburn took a double away from Lynn, and then you've got Everett making a very nice play in the hole at shortstop, and Brandon Ian starting a double play to get them out of that last half inning. So they most definitely go hand in hand, pitching and defense, and they help you win games.
Well, we'll see if the Tigers have enough of that here today. Clee Thomas takes over defensively in right field for Maglio Ordonez. And the new pitcher now is Brandon Lyon.
As a manager, and this would probably be the case with Lyon, when you have an off night, and he did give up a run in that game last night to the Toronto Blue Jays, you want to get your reliever right back out there in a nice situation to get that taste out of their mouth. And there you have it. Lyon's out there again today in the 8th.
And he's facing Marco Scutaro to lead it off. It'll be the top of the order coming up for the Blue Jays. So a couple of tough hitters here. In fact, 3 of them, Scutaro, Hill, and Lind.
It would be a really nice night if Lyon's able to do his job, and then Rodney comes in the 9th and is able to close it out himself.
That's how you draw it up. Ball outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2. Scutaro today with a single and a walk. He's also fanned. He's getting closer and closer to that 100 runs scored plateau with 98. That leads all American League shortstops. Now the 2-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Marco Scutaro.
Do not need any base on balls.
Now with Aaron Hill waiting on deck, and then Lind, and then Wells. Ground ball hit to third. Inge throws him out.
You know, setup men don't get nearly the credit they deserve. I mean, looking at this inning right here, it's the 8th inning, obviously, but there's a 2-run lead, but you've got Lyon who's going up against the top of the order. Going up against Scutaro, Hill, Lynn, maybe Wells, which is their best hitters. They'll get credit for a hold, but sometimes it's the setup men don't get nearly the credit they deserve.
Here is Hill. Ball one. Well, Minor came on in the 7th, did a nice job, gave up a hit but got a double play ball. Blue Jays got a run in the 4th and a run in the 5th after the Tigers jumped out to a 4-0 lead. That's in the air to center. Easy play for Curtis Granderson, and 2 gone. So Hill is dispatched. He's hitless today. He's going to bring up Adam Lind. Lind hitless as well. In fact, Hill and Lind, their top 2 RBI guys, knocking on 100's door, are 0 for 7 combined. Fouled straight back, 1-1. Blue Jays came into this game 3rd in the American League in hits, total hits that is, but they have only 5 today. Pulled foul. It'll rattle around. 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Verlander tomorrow. The lefty Percy going for the Toronto Blue Jays. And then that'll put an end to this 4-game series and the season series between these 2 clubs. Bouncing ball to short. Should get him out of the inning. Everett throws him out. And a 1-2-3 inning nicely done by Brandon Lyon. You're watching Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit, presented by Bell Tire. Well, a gorgeous day here at the ballpark. Absolutely beautiful day for baseball. It's been 79 degrees all day. Even the UP in the house today. That's a long drive. to enjoy Tigers baseball, but here they are, and so far the Tigers have not disappointed. They lead 4-2. And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th inning. We have a new pitcher on now. Josh Renicky will take over for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Only the 10th time now that Renicky's been called upon out of the bullpen for Cito Gaston. Comes in with a 5.11 earned run average. It does have 12 strikeouts and 12 1/3 innings against 8 walks.
So Renicky will face Ryan Rayburn. Tigers have the top of the order coming up. Rayburn, Polanco, and Clete Thomas. There's a strike called on Ryan. Rayburn is 0 for 4 today, looking for his first hit.
Right-handed hitters do very little against Renicky. They are hitting a combined 115 against Renicky, 3 for 26.
Tap slowly toward third, hooking foul. No balls, 2 strikes.
And Renicky came over with Encarnacion from the Cincinnati Reds in the Scott Rowland deal.
He replaces Jansen, who wiggled out of a jam in the 7th inning. Ball high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Josh is the son of Gary Renicky and the nephew of Ron Renicky, who was a coach with the Angels. Swing and a miss. So Rayburn strikes out for the 3rd time today. 1 gone. By the way, don't forget to be at Comerica Park this Wednesday when the Tigers host the Royals at 7:05. The first 10,000 fans aged 21 and over receive a Tigers camouflage hunting hat. For tickets, you can call 866-66-TIGER or log on to tigers.com. That is a sweet looking lid. Camouflage Tiger D. Here's Polanco.
Cincinnati must have wanted Scott Rowland bad because they gave a pretty good arm here in Renicky. 95, 96 with the fastball.
Renicky's have a ton of baseball talent running in their family. We talked about Gary and Ron, and Josh also has a couple of brothers, Jarrett and Jason, who are minor leaguers.
It's the way it usually is when dad plays and your uncle plays. You're around it all the time. And all the boys start playing at a very young age, running around big league clubhouses. I guess it's in your blood.
Slice to the second baseman, Hill, on 1 hop. And there are 2 gone. Well, Josh Renicky played football actually at UCLA along with baseball, obviously, but he was a wide receiver until he started concentrating on baseball. Wasn't catching enough passes, and the baseball bloodlines took over. 2 out for Clete Thomas, who gets his first at bat. If the Tigers fail to score here, Rodney will come on in the 9th inning to face Wells, Overbay, and Encarnacion. Ball 1 to Clete. Two balls, no strikes. There's the Tigers' pen. Along with Rodney. Bonine throwing.
Bonine just getting some work in.
3-0. Thomas replaced Ordonez, who had 3 hits today. A couple of singles and a double. 3-0 pitch. He walked him, ball 4. 2 out base on balls. That's going to bring up Cabrera. A couple of hits today for Miguel, plus an RBI. Eleven Tigers hits here this afternoon, yet they have not scored since getting 3 in the 3rd. They at one point led 4-0, and then the Blue Jays got 1 in the 4th. They added another in the 5th, but haven't scored since. Bullpen to this point has done a really good job tonight for the Tigers. They got the 7th from Minor, the 8th from Lyon. All trying to get Porcello his 13th win. That's going to get away from the catcher. Chavez all the way to the backstop. Put a man in scoring position now as Thomas moves up to second. Now let's see if Cabrera gets him in to get that all-important 5th run in.
2 balls, no strikes. I'd walk Cabrera. I wouldn't even let him hit. There'd be no question in my mind. They got a nice parking spot for him right now.
And it looks like that's what they're going to do. They got Ramirez on deck, but he's being called back. Aubrey Huff is picking up a bat. So they'll just finish this off with first base open. Another intentional walk for Cabrera.
He is started to get a lot more of those intentional base on balls here the last couple of weeks.
If I can have your attention, please, now.
He had a couple in KC.
He did. And I believe maybe 1 or 2 in Tampa.
Huff has been announced.
And it's the right move by Cito Gaston. And really, Cabrera's run means nothing. And the damage that he has done in his very young big league career. Why wouldn't you walk him? It really doesn't matter who's hitting behind you.
Huff takes ball 1.
As good as Renicky is against right-handed batters, he struggles against left-handers. Left-handers are hitting .381 against Renicky. I told you right-handers just 115.
That might get down. It will. This will get a run in. Thomas comes around to score. Cabrera slides into 3rd, and Aubrey Huff backs in a huge run off the bench. Oh, the 2-out walk. It came around to score.
The Blue Jays haven't been very fortunate with their base on balls today. Seems like every time they've walked one, they have scored. That looked like a little 2-seam fastball fading away from Renicky, but the ball was up, which allowed him to beat the shift and hit it the opposite way. It's a changeup, actually. And that's just a really nice approach by Huff, a dead pull hitter that laces something down in the left field corner.
Brent DeLugich will pinch run at second base. His first big league action. He was one of the September call-ups. Jim Leyland has not used him up until now. He will pinch run at second. Here's Brandon Inge. Strike 1. (5-2) Tigers lead. They have runners at second and third and 2 outs. Ground ball back up the middle into center. This will get 2 more runs in. Brandon Inge with a huge 2-out hit. RBI 75 and 76.
Brandon has had a nice approach all afternoon long, and I talked about the approach he had in last night's game. Flying out to right center field, Vernon Wells ran one down late in that ball game. But when you have that kind of approach and you're hitting the ball up the middle, you're going to get lots of hits. Nice day for Brandon.
2 hits, 2 RBIs. Thirteen Tigers hits in this one here this afternoon.
Tigers continue to do some of their best work offensively with 2 outs.
It's amazing. They got a 2-out single from Laird in the second. They got another one in the third from Laird. All 3 of their runs here in the 8th with 2 outs. Here's the 2-0. 3 balls, no strikes. And there's a walk. Turning into an ugly inning after Renicky retired the first 2 that he faced. That is his 3rd walk. Gerald Laird due up. Laird fouls it back out of play. It's been a big day for Gerald. He's been on base 3 times. He's chipped in with a couple of 2-out RBI hits. The Tigers hadn't scored since getting 3 in the 3rd. They've added 3 here in the 8th to break it open a bit. 7-2. Much more comfy now. In the air toward left. Snyder will run it down. Big inning for the Tigers. They add 3 more runs. We'll go to the 9th. 7-2 Detroit. Well, the Tigers lead this one 7-2 on a gorgeous day. A big crowd enjoying Tigers baseball today. Hopefully a Tigers win. They lead by 5 going to the 9th inning. Last call now for the Blue Jays. Paul's bobblehead day, by the way, today. Kids get to run the bases once this game is over.
This is their day.
So far, so good. Well, Fernando Rodney is going to come on. This will not be a safe situation. He was heating up in the event that it would be, and so he'll come in anyway. He'll face Vernon Wells, Lyle Overbay, and Edwin Encarnacion.
And Rodney would like to shake off the outing that he had last night as well. Rodney gave up that 2-run home run to Aaron Hill in the 9th inning on a 3-1 changeup.
Only 5 hits today for the Jays. Vernon Wells has one of them, an infield single and a run score. 7-game hitting streak. And the first pitch is inside, 1-0. The 1-0 pitch. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Rodney, of course, can get to the upper 90s.
Where that last fastball was located, even though Vernon is a good high fastball hitter, it's tough to catch up to in the mid-90s. Threw another one up there just to see if Vernon was in a swinging mood.
Ooh, down he goes. That ball came up and in and around the chin. 3-1 on Vernon Wells. Walking. Man, oh man. Jim Leland right now has to be seething. It is a 7-2 game, and Rodney walks the leadoff hitter. He's going to bring up Lyle Overbay. Leland was sitting down. Now he's one step out of the dugout stairs as Rick Knapp gets in touch with the bullpen. There is strike 1. Overbay 0 for 3. And now 0 for his last 14. 0-2. Here's Bonderman. He's warming up now. Pretty good rip there. 1-2. The count stays on Lyle Overbay. Veteran of the Blue Jays, Milwaukee, and Arizona. Jays trying to come back from a 5-run deficit here in the 9th. They came back to win last night. Down by 3. Swing and a miss. And Overbay is out. Tough day for Lyle. That's an 0 for 4.
First changeup Rodney has thrown here in the 9th. And a doozy.
Meanwhile, the Twins are hammering the A's on this afternoon. 8-0. White Sox just getting going right now in Anaheim out there against the Angels. The White Sox in 2nd place. Twins in 3rd. Strike 1 on Encarnacion. Swing and a miss. 0-2. After that leadoff walk, Fernando's come out and thrown nothing but strikes.
He's got a real firm fastball today, too. That last one at 98 miles an hour. And that is why Rodney, when he's on and throwing strikes, can be very, very tough to hit. He throws 98 with the fastball, and then he backs that up with a changeup in the low 80s. You're talking about almost a 20-mile-per-hour differential in speeds from the same arm slot and the same arm speed. Changeup is a devastating pitch. That was a change piece right there that had Encarnacion out in front of, but it looks like he tries to pull everything, and I mean everything. And that's why his batting average is just 200 right now.
Had an RBI double in the fourth. He is 1 for 3. Bouncing ball to short. Everett flips to second one. Relay. Double play. The Tigers win.
And a good win. Rick Porcello got busy today to stop the streak.
A 5-game losing streak